I know that when we send it, we've talked about this over the years about sending all of our information, our email and everything to the RHC forwarding address, email address. And I know we've been doing that to try to get stuff on our email, on our RHC email. And I've always had it in my mind. I'm sure Ron had it in his mind before me. And Sam will have it in her mind that, you want to get into the town hall and go through that email. And I started to make folders, email folders, because I'm crazy about making email folders for all of our subjects. So I started making folders, for Gould Street and 79 Salem Street. And I want to move, because all of our communication generally comes through email. And I've wanted to sort of move all of that email into these file folders. And I was also looking to take the documents out of the email folders and then archive them in Word folders somewhere as well. So that'll be something that maybe, Sam, we can do in the next iteration of your chairmanship or chairpersonship.
I'll just be a plain old chair.
Your chairship.
A gender neutral chair.
So who else is coming this evening? I don't know. Nobody externally is coming. So this is probably it. Actually, this is it, since we've lost Jack, and I think I didn't mention to everybody. Hi, Pino and Amelia.
Hello.
I didn't mention to everybody that Ron had sent an email indicating that he was not going to be able to make it this evening. He sent an email to me. I don't know if he sent it to everybody, but he did extend his well wishes. He's resigned effective December 31st, so he extended his well wishes and happy trails to everyone, as well as happy holidays. So I said that I would forward that information, and I extended to him, by the way, on our behalf, our gratitude for his contributions over the 6+ years that he served on the Historical Commission. But we will be missing him this evening. But he may be watching on channel 22 at home, yelling at his TV perhaps, but we'll see. So let's get started. I see it's 7:02, so why don't I call the meeting to order, and at the outset designate Virginia as the 5th voting member this evening, and turn it back to Julie and to Sam for any of the preliminary comments.
So I think, Sam, does it show up that you're the host?
It does.
I did transfer it to you. So I think with that, I'm going to head out. Just make sure to remind everybody that you're being recorded via RCT. Right.
Thanks, Julie.
Have a good meeting, you guys. And send me any emails afterwards if there's things you need coordinated with Town Hall.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Have a great night and a great holiday.
Thanks. You too. Okay, Sam.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. So I need to mention that we are being recorded for RCTV and also for the town, which may decide to put the meeting on YouTube. That's the main points. I can't currently find my document that has the official wording, but that's the main part. And I will be monitoring to see if anyone's trying to get in, to let them in, and we'll just go from there.
Okay, great, thanks. I still have my copy of that.
I put it somewhere safe, and then didn't throw it in the pile of things to open up.
Well, you should scan it so you have it in digitized form.
No, it is. That's what
Oh,
I
it
meant.
is. Oh,
I have it on the
okay.
computer right now.
Well,
You
that's a
can still
problem.
lose things in the digital world too.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, well, you did hit on everything, I think, at least everything that's important. And we'll whatever we missed, we'll cover when we have any votes or anything. So does anyone else have any preliminary matters before we jump into our and it should be a pretty brief agenda this evening as well. Anybody? No. Okay. Well, the first topic, we'll run through these pretty quickly. I meant to look up again 16 Eaton Street. I was pretty certain that they weren't going to be coming this evening. I had communicated with Guy Manganiello about our meeting, and he asked a series of questions on behalf of the homeowners. And I don't know that I've shared those emails with everybody. I don't know that it's necessary, but questions like, I don't have them in front of me and I don't need to have them, but questions like if the homeowners did agree to some of the suggestions that we had proffered for revisions to their proposed reuse, would they continue to be on the inventory, on the list? And the house would continue to be on the list, but I'm not sure whether he asked the question this way, but I did say, obviously, that if the house is demolished, maybe that was his question, if the house is demolished. Oh, of course, that is the question, because the house would be demolished if they did the subsequent reuse, and it would not be on the list because it would be a replacement of the original historic house. He then asked me if they weren't happy with the additions, and he was specifically referring to the gables that we were suggesting. Would they be able to remove them subsequently? And that actually is an interesting question, and perhaps we can have some conversation about that. I didn't get into it in this kind of detail, but obviously, if it's in the context of a early release, then we would probably be doing it in the context of the written agreement that we have. In which case, and I tried to finesse this answer, that the commission, if there was a written agreement to include those gables, then an argument could be made that the commission could insist that the revisions not be removed. But I thought that was going to be a stretch. He then asked me a couple of other questions, and I can't remember them. And he thanked me for that. And then I said, if you're going to be joining us, if you have any revised plans, you're welcome to join us. I told him that it was going to be this evening, and I asked him to get back to me so we could arrange for a particular time, and I didn't hear from him. So obviously, I'm sure they're not going to be joining us this evening, but we could be surprised. Virginia, yes.
I have a concern that we're already into about 3 months of the demolition delay, and we have not seen them again. Although you've had conversations with them, that's encouraging. But I suspect they're going to take the route of some other developers and sit out the delay period.
It's an excellent point. I share your concern, and I'm gonna guess all of us share your concern. And that goes to, we can probably have this discussion when we talk about the demolition delay proposed revisions, or just a review of demolition delay. I agree with you, and I've sent the initial letter that we talked about, advising them, as we do each person, that they're obligated to participate and cooperate. They seem to need to be pushed each time. And I agree with you. I have this nagging feeling that they are simply waiting out the period as everybody else does. And I'm not entirely sure that we have much recourse. And to be honest, we could, and I did get pretty forceful, if you might have remembered some of the letters or some of the emails that I sent them, that I tried to include everybody. But I don't know what we can do to force them to come to the meeting, other than to perhaps copy Glenn, and I'm not sure he can do anything either. So there's very little we can do, and that's why when we talk about the demolition delay review, to the extent we go forward with anything of those suggestions, several of which were Ron's, and I'm not sure whether Sam or Amelia wanted to initiate the discussion about the possibility of going to town meeting to revise the bylaw to include a longer period. If I endorse anything, I endorse that, because I think that's really the only tool that we really have, unless we can find some others that other towns use. But with a 6-month period, it's impossible to get anybody to compel, and I can comply. And I have that same problem with respect to the folks at the 25 Haven Street. It's not lost on me that I shared that. Everybody saw that. Oh yeah, Amanda saw that. You all saw that they are applying for a demolition demolition permit, and it's not lost on me that they're applying in December, when nothing is going to happen for probably approximately 6 months. So the same issue arises. Virginia, did you have any thoughts as to what else we could do?
No, except that if we do lose some of these houses, and Ron made a very good list of the ones that we have lost, we can use that as ammunition at town meeting.
Absolutely, it's great ammunition. Well, let's hold the discussion until then. But it's great ammunition. And I can assure you, I mean, I will, and I'm going to urge Sam as well and anybody else, depending on how we go forward. I mean, I have followed up with them as well as Main Street, 531 Main Street, even though they're not, they're pretty far down the road anyway. But I follow up immediately or within days of our meeting to let them know the next date and to encourage them to participate. And I will stay on that. And I would urge Sam to do the same. It's kind of a pain, but you know, because they do need to be reminded. And at some point, Guy Manganiello will say, you know, my apologies, you know, we'll be there. But I'll send that, you know, either tomorrow or over the weekend, just to sort of stay on them. But you're right. I mean, we're losing precious time. Okay, I don't know if there's anything else. Anybody else have any comments about 16 Eaton Street? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to 531 Main Street, and there's even less to discuss about that. Oh, same thing, except that they were aware also of this evening, but I was absolutely certain they weren't going to be joining, because after my invitation to Chris, to the mid-November meeting, he had indicated that he cordially took a pass, indicating that they wanted to wait to get a better sense from the CPDC what the CPDC would either want to see or would conceivably accept. And I've been following it. I know it was on the agenda for the CPDC, I believe, at their last meeting. I'm drawing a blank on the date. But I also noticed, looking at their agenda, that it was postponed until I think it's January 11th, if anybody has an interest. I've been following it. Just bear with me while I figure out how to get to January here. CPDC's next, the meeting on which they have continued 531 Main Street is January 11th. And I'm not sure if there's a particular time yet. But that will be the next time. So whenever depending on, you know, how we want to go forward, and Sam, how you want to go forward, but I would suggest that we continue to stay in touch with them and invite them to the meeting. And depending on whenever our January meeting is, they may or they may not have additional information for the January meeting. So bear that in mind. Other than that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So they're kind of waiting. They wanted to wait to make any design changes till they've had the CPDC review. Is that the?
Yeah, honestly, I'm not sure.
to
Yes, I'm not sure whether there were any back channel conversations with folks on the CPDC, which I would doubt, because that's somewhat challenging with respect to the open meeting law. I haven't seen anything that's been submitted that I can recall to the design review team. I don't know, Virginia, if you've seen anything, but Andrew will usually send me if there's something on the design review team, because that's an internal in-town process that sometimes applicants, particularly on projects, commercial projects, will submit stuff there for input. But that does not provide necessarily CPDC input, because I've never seen a CPDC member attend that meeting, although Julie usually does. So I don't know, Sam, whether they're waiting until after the January 11th meeting, or my guess is I don't know how they're going to get CPDC's input as to what they consider without submitting something to CPDC and getting feedback. Yeah. But so I don't know, but all I do know is that since they're on January 11th, and it may or may not be postponed, but I think we should at least invite them and encourage them, if they have anything new, to send it to us. Any other thoughts or comments about 531 Main Street? Okay, hearing none. utility box artwork project update. Just a couple of interesting points. Following our last meeting, I followed up with the town treasurer's office to find out what the status was of the payment, and much to my dismay, it had somehow fallen through the cracks and had disappeared. So nothing had happened on it. I spoke with the woman I've been dealing with. I don't know if anybody knows her, Virginia, Cindy McGrath, who's in the treasurer's office. She's been a great help to me. But she was the one who then bird dogged it and found the material that Jack had originally submitted, and then moved to process it. So I think it was only maybe the first week or the second week in December, I think the first week in December, that $2,000 first check went out to Franklin. And I communicated with him, and he got back to me to let me know that he finally received it, at which point he submitted the final invoice. So I submitted that to Town Hall, and I was informed today that a check has been cut as of yesterday, and it will be going out to him next Tuesday. I guess, I don't know how this works, but apparently they do their accounting work on Tuesdays, because they cut the check today and it didn't go out to be mailed. It will go out to be mailed on the following Tuesday, which is December 22nd. So I contacted Franklin to let him know he's going to get a Christmas present from the town of Reading. The only other thing that I can report is that I did submit the grant application for $2,000 for the grant for the additional 1 to 2 projects, utility box projects that we had agreed to pursue. And now, do you want to see that? I mean, I will file it with on the computer in Town Hall, and I don't think I sent it to everybody. Do you all want me to send you copies of that, or do you not want me to send you? No, I see no. No. Okay. Amelia or anybody, if you do want it, just let me know and I'll send it. It isn't any big deal. I'm not sure if I shared the others, but in any event, they're submitted. And I received an email back asking whether a check would be written to the Reading Historical Commission or to the town of Reading. So I see that as a good sign, but it isn't necessarily an acceptance yet, but I'll keep you all posted. So I'm really happy about that. That's all on utility box. Anything else on from anybody on the utility box artwork? No.
I really like seeing them. They look awesome.
Yeah, I agree. Driving downtown and I sort of craned my head to check them out. In fact, I went to Town Hall a couple of times, and it's perfect the way it came out. It's really nice, even though the school is no longer there. But when you come down the stairs from Town Hall, the main stairs, and look at that side of the utility box, and then look up, you're looking at the exact image that's presented, except that the school isn't there. But it's really cool, and it really does warm my heart to see them. So, and I haven't necessarily heard any other comments, but and did I mention that quite some time ago, maybe in September, I'm not sure, it could have been October, but I got an email from Matt Cornelis, who is the I don't know what his title is. He's like the administrative officer at Town Hall, if people know him. But he sent me an email and asked me some information about those. I don't know if I shared this with people, but then he put it on, he asked me if it was okay with us if he put it on the Town of Reading. I think it's a Facebook page. I didn't even know that the town has a Facebook page, but he put the photos, I sent them the photos, and he put the photos on the Facebook page. Which is really cool. And he put a little blurb on there as well, which is really nice. And I also don't know if I shared with you, but if you guys are on, what is it, Reading Rant or Reading Rave or something, these are Facebook pages. Somebody help me out. I think they're Facebook pages. But there were a whole series of comments, and Sarah had mentioned it to me, and I'm sure they're still there if you want to see them. And people loved it. So it's definitely getting good response.
Good.
All right.
It might help us too have projects like this, we have people be more aware of them when we do approach town meeting. Kind of people kind of know what's going on a little bit ahead of time. It might convince some folks to give us a little more demo delay power, maybe.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I've had this discussion with Ron several times in the past, and just I know Ron's perspective was that we shouldn't do any more, but rather because his suggestion is that it kind of diverts us from what is our primary responsibility and mission. And I have pushed back on that, and I still firmly believe it's right on point with respect to our mission, which is to implement programs to identify historic assets, and then to implement programs for their preservation. And I firmly believe, and I think Virginia, you've espoused this many times, that every time and to your point, Sam, every time that we bring to the citizens of the town's attention, whether it be at the new residence or at the garden fair, or through these displays on the utility boxes, anytime we bring to the town people's attention these incredible historic assets and the history of the town, I think it definitely garners support. Just a knowledge of the valuable history in this town, and it garners support for the things that we do to preserve these assets. So I think it's right on the money, and I agree with you. I don't know if people were aware, but there was an article in the paper, I think I had mentioned this. Unfortunately, the pandemic kind of loused everything up, because it would have been great if we could have done these. I know this is the least problem as a result of the pandemic, but it definitely loused everything up. There was a real, I think we were on the front page, Virginia, of the Chronicle back in March when they did that article about this.
Yes, I believe so.
And unfortunately, with the pandemic, we kind of got held up until November, and at that point, there wasn't a lot of publicity that we could have done. But we should do publicity, and if we do two more, I would love to communicate that through the Chronicle, through the Facebook pages, so people can come out there. And I know Franklin loves to have people come out there and watch him as he does his work, just to see the stuff. And it might also help if we do go forward with those. I forgot what they're called. Those QR codes, which, again, when the weather is good, hopefully people will have an interest, and we can publicize that, and people will have an interest in learning more about it. But anyhow, enough said. And that does, I think.
Wait, not enough said. I wanted to say something.
Go ahead.
So a couple weeks ago, I did the online course with Chris Skelly from Mass Historical.
Oh, yeah.
Interestingly enough, Virginia, he said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Reading." And the next thing he said was, "How's Virginia?"
Oh, that's nice.
So one of the arguments that he was making is that in order to preserve stuff, you need the demo delay, so legal recourse, but also to engender people's involvement, the public's involvement in the work that we do, and get them to sort of take emotional ownership of this stuff too. So one of the things, this wouldn't help in this case, but one of the things I suggested is, if you have the bandwidth, to send a letter with a copy of the Form B of historical houses to new owners. So right away they're getting sort of excited about the historical nature of their house. But anyway, his argument is that you need the two prongs. You can't just try the demo delay, or you can't just throw the demo delay out, that both aspects are helpful. So
you definitely need public support. And town meeting is the public. And, in addition to representing the citizenry, they are the citizenry. So to the extent they're informed and behind us, that'll help as well, even though there is that libertarian streak. How was that session?
I mean, there wasn't anything really earth-shattering, but there were some people who had some interesting problems and sort of like, oh, I'll check up with you later because we have that problem in our town. So I guess it was good for some people for networking purposes.
Good.
Mhm.
I'm glad you did it. Thanks.
Yep.
And as we are now going to get into the discussion about the demolition delay review, as a part of that, I think depending on whatever it is we're going to do, we definitely should survey other historical commissions, other towns. I know years ago there was a survey done. I don't remember what it was, but I think Chris actually did a survey through the email network. The question was how long are towns' demolition delay periods? Are they 6, 12, 18, 24? And it was interesting, but should we go forward, I think it is really important that we do a survey of other towns and hopefully find out that we are sort of outliers at 6 months, and that most other towns, particularly those with significant historic assets, have much longer periods. I'd love to see them having 18 months or 24 months, and that would really come in handy. And I think at the same time, I'd also like to survey other towns and historical commissions to see whether they have other ideas about how to compel folks who are on during a demolition delay period to participate, and what else they may do with applicants to encourage them to preserve homes. Although my fear is that they probably have the same low success rate that we do, but I think it would be valuable for us to survey these other towns and get that information. Yes, Virginia.
I think Chris Skelly has all the towns listed, so it'd be easier to contact him for the length of time. Mhm.
Good idea. Good idea. So we should follow up on that. So let's open up the conversation, and I don't know how we want to do this, but feel free to jump in. But the question came up, I think, in two sources. One was through Ron's emails with various ideas, particularly suggesting a couple of things: tax credits for homeowners who are owners of historic assets on the inventory. He then also had an idea talking about providing money to these same homeowners, or some of the homeowners on these lists, to do renovations as an idea to dissuade them from going after a demolition of the home as an alternative. And I'm not a strong supporter of those, but I want to encourage the conversation to talk about this. And then the other issue that came up, and there may be others, and I think, Amelia, you were a strong advocate for extending the demolition delay period from 6 months to either 12 months or 18 or 24. So those are at least three ideas that are on the table. So let me just open it up and see what people have to say.
I think the idea of having extending the demolition delay, and once we know what most of the other communities in the area have, maybe we can go for that amount. It would be nice if it was 24 or 18, and we could start with that, and then we could compromise at 12 months.
It's funny that you say that. I mean, I think everybody knows. I mean, I was a labor lawyer involved in a lot of things, but contract negotiations with unions, and obviously that's the first rule is, you never go in with in negotiations. Everybody knows this. You never go in with what you want. You go in with much more than what you want, and you compromise back. So I agree. If we do go that way, I think we should go for 24 months, and then well, we can talk about that, either 18 or 24, and settle back. But I agree. And let's hear from other people before I offer my comments. Anybody else? Sam.
I mean, I like Ron's idea. I think his numbers were awfully high, and I don't think we'd ever get folks in town to agree on really big tax breaks. And, or we might have a spate of people trying to get their houses listed on Form B so they can get the tax break.
I didn't think of that.
I'd want to get mine on. So maybe a modest something to just so that people are a little more aware of the history of their individual houses. But I think, I don't think it's feasible that we get a tax break, and making the delay period longer seems like the best way to discourage people from buying properties that they then are planning to knock down. I've also wondered, how do we let people know ahead of time, like when they're about to buy a property, like that it's on the historic list, and if you want to knock it down, you're going to have to go through all this flaw with the town. Like, don't they, when they find out it, maybe, especially these developers, maybe they'd buy a different house instead of, picking one that has to have all these extra things going on, because hey, I'm on a meeting. I got a lot of background noise here. But
kind of like being at a football game with that digital sound in the background.
It's after dinner snack time in the kitchen. Yeah.
Well, that's a great question, Sam, and I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. Well, first of all, I don't know, but I do think we should find out, because I agree. We ought to try to find a way. Again, I don't know how to do this, but we ought to try to find out. It would be great to contact new homeowners of homes that are on the inventory and introduce ourselves, and offer our input and our support, as well as indicate to them what it means to be on the list. The problem is, I don't know who in town. I mean, I suppose, and I would like to pursue that, unless somebody else knows the answer to that with the folks in town. But I would assume the assessor's office, finds out when a property turns over to a new homeowner. I would assume that the assessor's office is the office that finds out first, and maybe there's a way that we can reach out and have an arrangement with them. I see Charlene in Virginia, so let's have Charlene first.
I believe that when you put a property on the market, you have to fill out a form. I've done this for some property in Florida, and it would ask about any restrictions and anything that you know about the property. So I think that the seller is responsible for disclosing that, and the realtor also has some responsibility. Exactly how the laws are here in Massachusetts, I'm not sure.
That's interesting. Before I comment, Virginia.
We have tried to initiate realtors in the past, and excuse me, it may be time to do that again by encouraging them to, when they list properties, to check. Some are far more into it than others, but we should be engaging the realtors. And I believe the assessors don't get the point of sale until after it's several months after it's been recorded at the registry. So they're always 4 to 6 months behind. So these are just thoughts that we've tried in the past. And while I have the mic, I just say that as far as extending the delay, we've thought about it for a long time, and we're waiting for a certain situation that would propel it forward. And I think we've waited long enough without any situations. But sometimes if we lost a very important structure, that would be the time to go into town meeting and say, look what we've lost. This is what we need to do. So
Agreed.
Just a few random thoughts.
On that point, or back to yours, Charlene, I wonder if there even is a law that requires, I mean, this is not like a deed restriction where clearly I hesitate to say this, but I'm fairly confident that in the course of reviewing the deed for sale or purchase of a home, that the lawyers involved will obviously become aware, because it's a part of the recording process, that the deed restriction is there. So they communicate that, but this is not at that level.
Yeah.
So, it's not even at the level of a state requirement, even though it's covered by a state law. But it's a general, bylaw, it's a town law. And I'm going to doubt that there's any kind of legal requirement, but I don't know. And it's worth at least reviewing to see if we can find out. And maybe, I would agree, Virginia, that the assessors, there's a clear time lag before the assessors get that information. But from my standpoint, if the choices are between, and I'm not a strong supporter of that, because that presumes, first of all, there's probably 15 or 10 or however many realtors they are, and they change each year too. That's really kind of chasing your tail, number one. Number two, it presumes that they're going to actually communicate that, and I don't have a comfort level that they will. Between that and somehow reaching an agreement with the assessor's office that they communicate to the historical commission when there's a new owner of a house on the list, I would be inclined to think we'd have more success with that. And even if it's 3 or 4 or 5 months late, at least we can follow up at that point. But those are the only two options. Well, I guess there's the third option as to whether there is a legal requirement. So let's pursue those and find out. But for my money, I would just as soon try to reach out to the assessor's office and come up with some kind of arrangement with them. Charlene, yes.
Yeah, years ago, we used to periodically send out a mailing to the homeowners. Maybe it was just a card, maybe it said historic property owner or something or another. I don't know that they all necessarily said that it was necessarily about their home being on the inventory, but maybe we had an event coming up that we wanted to advertise with them.
Well, it might not be a bad idea. That's another idea, is that we could send a communication to the owners, assuming we know who all of them are. We can certainly find that out, although that could be an interesting undertaking in itself, of all of the homes on the list. But then just sort of follow up with them every year, or some period with just reaching out to you. Is there anything we can do for you, and reminding you that the bylaw would apply to new owners, and we would appreciate your communicating. Whatever, we could come up with some wording for that and then send it out regularly. Yes.
And that they can buy a historic plaque for their home.
That's a great point, because there are many that don't have it.
Yeah.
So let's think about that. And I wonder, Amelia, if you could somehow tag this as an agenda item, just so in case I or Sam forget. I would like to pursue with you, Sam, as the chair, just having these discussions and maybe moving something along. I gotta say, if we do go forward with this, I'm not entirely sure how to say this, and maybe I shouldn't, since I'm no longer going to be the chair, because the thought is that that's my background noise, that's my phone. We need to start to develop some more involvement of all of us on the commission to participate in these things. I should have said this when I was the chair, because it would save the chair from having to do all of the things, because there are a lot of things that have to be done, as Sam will find out. But if we are starting to undertake some of these others, that we all ought to step up to volunteer to participate in these efforts. And we can meet, two of us can meet, only two of us can meet on an ongoing basis without violating the open meeting law to sort of push, to draft a letter or, to reach out to the assessors or something. So I just want to urge everybody to help out in that regard. Yes, Amelia.
About how many houses are on the historical inventory? It's a big fat binder, Virginia.
Well, I think there's 300 or something, right?
Yeah, just about.
350, I think.
Okay.
And that brings up another thought. The people that are no longer on the commission, I think it should be requested to turn in their inventory book or any other. I think that's about the only thing that we need to pass on to other commission members.
Agreed. So we need to get those books from Jack and from Ron. I agree. And I would also suggest that I should turn over the key to the archives to Sam, although it's kind of pointless at this point. But I do have a key to the archives, which does come in handy. And if we ever do get together, or if you ever want to go in, because I believe at this point, I know I've gone in once or twice begging, what's her name, Jean. But, Sam, if you, for whatever reason, want to go in, or you want to ask any one of us to go in, I mean, enough is enough with not having access to town hall. It's ridiculous. And, we are employees to a certain extent. And I think that they will allow you or any of us one at a time, or maybe two at a time, when I went in with Jack, just to go into the archives, don't go anywhere else, wear a mask, and do whatever you want to do. So think about that if you want, but I will get you the key. You also, I think, Sam, had wanted to say something before. You had your hand raised.
Oh, yeah. I think it'd be great to try to actually get back in there and see what's going on. Like, hopefully there've been no issues like with water. And I'm assuming the room gets checked out now and again, but I don't really know that. But I was wondering, so we have a liaison with the select board, who's Carlo
Bocci,
thank you. I wonder if we want to invite him to one of these discussions, and we could kind of,
I didn't say a word.
But I mean, we need somebody from the select board on our side, yes, to do stuff at town meeting. I really have no idea how town meeting works.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to
we should definitely talk about that.
I mean,
that's kind of a sensitive issue. And actually, Carlo was invited to our meetings. I know he is.
and he's can't come once or twice, I think. So.
He came once. And I will tell you, Sam, in my lifetime on this commission, and I can turn to Charlene and to Virginia to weigh in on this. I recall, I believe, 2 other meetings that Andy Friedman came to when he was the select board liaison. One of those 2 meetings he came to because we were talking about the preservation restriction agreement with 186, and he came as a select board member. And Andy is great, and he's as conscientious and as hardworking as a select board member as anybody I have ever known on the select board. And other than that, I have never seen that I can recall a select board member or liaison come to the meeting. And I can just tell you, they don't have the general time. I mean, there are 5 of them, and there's probably 20 or 30 or 40 commissions, boards, and committees. And this is not one of the ones that is high up on the list of priorities as compared to the ZBA or the Recreation Commission or the Board of Health or blah, blah, blah. So it's a point well taken. And I do think that we should, at the point that we need, obviously Carlo, if he continues to be our liaison, is obviously invited and encouraged to join any of our meetings. But clearly at the point where we have a project, and it is imminent that we're going to go forward with something, we should solicit assistance from not just him, but from all of the select board members and any other resources, including all of the town meeting members, to participate. I agree. And I'll just lastly say, and I just don't know, and for all I know, Carlo may be watching, and I don't want to offend him, and I don't intend to offend him, but this kind of issue depends on someone's political point of view. And I don't know Carlo's politics all that well, but my general feeling is he's less inclined to support the kind of initiative that we're talking about, particularly with respect to extending the demolition delay. But I defer to him to decide that. I just don't know. Virginia, yes.
I think Karen Herrick is also a liaison to the Historical Commission, and she's a former member.
She used to, they were co-liaisons, and I don't know why. It might have been because Carlo was new, but I will tell you that's no longer the case.
Oh,
And I have had several conversations with Karen, not recently, but earlier, where I encouraged her to continue to assume that role, because I thought that she was a co-liaison, and I firmly believe she made it firmly clear to me that that's not the case.
oh,
But my point, she obviously is, regardless of the issue of the liaison, which we clearly need to continue to invite and solicit input and support. We should solicit input and support, if we are going forward with this, from any and all of the select board members. And Karen is uniquely suited for a lot of reasons, but not the least of which is that she was on this commission. We ought to reach out to her very much at that particular point. So yes, I agree.
Can
Okay.
you describe what happens how would we bring something to town meeting, and what in the world happens at town meeting?
Jonathan knows, he's our key man.
I have yet to attend a town meeting.
Is anybody else a town meeting member? I don't think anybody else is.
No,
I should also point out, no, I shouldn't point out because it probably wouldn't be appropriate, but I will simply say, and it doesn't matter because none of you are in precinct 5, right?
Too.
Yeah, but my term expires, and I was out this weekend on that gorgeous Saturday, thank goodness, getting signatures around my community to serve again. So
good.
I'm up for re-election. I think it's in March. Yeah, we could submit. I mean, it's the select board generally that puts items. It is the select board that puts items. They're called articles on the warrant. And boards and commissions are empowered to move that the select board put an article on the warrant. And we could do that and would do that. I don't know how it was done. I was a town meeting member back when it was last on town meeting. I forget when that was, and I don't know who put. Oh, I think it was Carlo Bacci's wife, probably at the time.
No, she fought against it. So, oh, you mean to reduce the? She
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah.
dispose
But
of the whole.
she didn't put it on the warrant,
No.
right?
No,
Who did put it on the warrant? Do you know?
I'd have to look it up.
But it was the commission, I assume.
We put it on to extend it, and the battle began that everyone wanted to shorten it. So
Right, and that's the problem.
led by a
Carlo Bacci's
particular
wife.
person. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a public record. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
commenting one way or the other. But, so let me just. Let me just say my piece about the other alternative, and then if anybody else wants to, they can, or we can then move to a more discussion about taking steps to increase the demolition delay period. But while I believe that the other alternatives that we were talking about, the tax credit or the financial incentive support, are great ideas, I'm not so sure that they make sense for several reasons. I just wrote down some comments about them. So let me just rattle them off, just so that I can at least say my piece about why I don't think we should pursue those. One is obviously the financial issue. Either the tax credits, whether it be at the 20% or 30%, which is, you're right, a significant amount of money that, you know, that Ron was just threw out there, and he made it clear he wasn't sure what the right number was, or whether it's coming up with financial incentives or financial support for homeowners on our list to do renovations. That's money that not only we don't have, but at this particular point in time, the town doesn't have. So my sense is that now is ever we would have to go to try to pursue a tax credit or increasing our budget or coming up with revenue to support that in town, whoever we had to go to, now is not the time to ask for money to do that, because we're just not going to get it. So I just think the time is not right for that. I would also say that I'm not even sure, maybe other people here know, but if we wanted to do a tax credit, I don't even know, does it have to, is it the select board? I don't know who would do that. And it's a process that I don't even know how to do it. So I mean, it's another reservation that I had about pursuing that. But obviously, if we wanted to, we could find out. But more to the point, my main concern is Ron's thought about it is that it would be a disincentive for a homeowner to proceed to demolish their property. And my anxiety about it is that while it would provide, if it is a tax credit, obviously, you know, $1,000, $2,000, whatever it is, do renovations on their house to keep it. I don't know what the assurance is that they're not going to turn around 2 years later or a year later or 3 years later and demolish the house. I mean, I don't see how it's an assurance that that the house isn't going to be demolished. In fact, I don't really think it would be, because to get to the next point, the reality is, at least with respect to these 7 houses that we looked at, 6 of the 7, if I'm not mistaken, were all proceeding to demolition by a developer who purchased the property from the homeowner. The only one where I think it's the homeowner is 16 Eaton Street. All of the other ones, a developer bought the property from either an estate or from a homeowner, and then demolished it. And my point is that the tax break and the financial incentive isn't going to in any way dissuade a developer, nor is it going to dissuade a homeowner at some point to take a developer's deal to buy their house so that the developer can develop it. So I just don't think it's going to have the effect of preserving the house. And I see you, Pino, but let me just say, my last point is, I know Ron also suggested, and again, I know the idea is a great idea, and he wasn't necessarily, I think, endorsing anyone in particular, but throughout the notion, I think, to all of us, that we could pick and choose which of the properties that are on structures that are on our inventory would benefit. And I'm not even sure that it's kosher or legal, or it's fraught with, I think, potential problems with our picking and choosing which houses on an inventory of 350 homes we're gonna suggest would be able to get this tax break. So for all of those reasons, I'm not so sure that it's going to accomplish what we really want to accomplish, which is to preserve these homes. So that's my say about why if we do anything, I think we go after increasing the demolition delay period. Pino, what did you want to say?
I was just gonna say, I agree with you on the tax incentive. I think it's a great and creative idea. I just think, like you said, I think it'd be a very long and complicated and time-consuming effort to even get that approved by, like you said, who knows who even implements that. And then I feel like even if you get it approved, the like you said, the credit itself would be so low, a couple $100. I mean, maybe $1,000, like you said. That again, like it wouldn't be assuming it's a homeowner, not a developer, as you outlined. It really wouldn't be much of an incentive for I feel like for the effort that we would have to put in to do it.
And it might be an incentive for a year or two, but it's not going to stop them 3 or 4 years down the road from selling the house to a developer, and we're going to end up in the same seat. Okay, anything else, Pino? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I was just going to go back to the inventory list. It's a little monotonous, but I can do it. You know, if I can have the most updated list, if we have that in electronic form, I honestly think the easiest way would just be to go through Zillow and just look up each, you know, you'd have to give me a couple weeks, just look up each property, and I can put the date that it was last sold, and maybe we could use that as a starting point if we want to send something to some of the newer, you know, newer homeowners who might not even know that that they bought a historic home. At least we'll have that list of when the house was last sold.
Well, first of all, speaking for the commission, I thank you for offering to do that, and I'm going to back off of, even if we go forward with that, I'm going to back off of your suggestion that we need to give you a few weeks and suggest that you should take however much time it's going to require, because I'm not sure you realize how long it's going to take. The list actually probably already is electronic. In fact, I know it's electronic because it's the list of historic structures that's on the website.
Okay, that's I remember there were some updates recently, but you think that's the most?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely, it's the most current list. If you want to go to it's on our website actually.
Okay.
And if that doesn't do it for you, let me know. But we can definitely do it. And seriously, Pino, I mean, do it however long or slow you want to do it. And if you want to also suggest that you could use some help and have other people do it, I've never been to Zillow, so I don't even know.
No, I'll do it. I mean, you could probably do 10 in 5 minutes or less.
Okay.
You just type in the address and you look up last sold and you write it down. You just got to do that 350 times. It's not that bad.
So where we're headed, 1 second, Charlene, I'm sorry. So where we're ultimately headed, I think, would be to generate a list. What we're trying to come up with is another list of the structures that are on the inventory, and then, you know, like a spreadsheet that Ron had done, you know, in the earlier iterations, a list of the historic structures, the current homeowners of the historic structures, and then ultimately either an email address or you know, phone numbers or whatever contact information we can get is what we ought to have. And then we can, once we get that list, we can hopefully keep it current. But we ought to get it, if you would, you know, get it electronically on some kind of spreadsheet form, so that we can keep it and maintain it.
Yeah. Well, current owners, I think I would have to go into the registry of deeds site, which would be a lot more time. Well, which I can do, but
the town website every year publishes a list of all of the
listing,
property and the current owners.
Oh, you know, I forgot about that. There's
The assessor's records.
The assessor's records,
Yeah.
plus there's a street list, and we get the street list, so we actually have that street list.
But the assessor's records should have the owner's name and when it was last purchased.
Can we get that list from the assessors, or can we give
No,
them?
It's
can we give them-
online. It's public information. You can get it from the website.
it is okay. That might be a better way. All right, I'll poke around.
Actually, you know, you're right, because just the other day, I forgot it. I think it was on the select board agenda or something. And I happened to notice that, I forget where I saw it, but I did see that there is that assessor's list of all of the properties in Reading with their current assessments. And I went to that list to look up the assessed value of my property. And you're right. I mean, it's an extensive list of everybody, so it is there. Okay, so thank you, Pino. Anything else? Pino, anything else?
Nope, not for me.
Charlene, did you have anything else, or was that
No.
your point? And
That was my
Amelia,
point,
did you
the
have anything else
assessor's
you were?
records.
Gotcha. Did you have anything else you were going to say at that
I
time?
think that assessor's list is organized by street address.
You
Street
can
address, it is.
probably, most communities, you can sort it by name or address.
Have to do it by address. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be by address. I
But
would
yeah,
assume.
you have the addresses, so.
Okay, so back to the main topic on that, which is, and I want to offer other people. I mean, I've expressed my opinion. Pino, you've expressed yours about which avenue or no avenues did we want to look at right now. Virginia, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm slow sometimes. I believe the assessors records are flagged by the historical designations, because that's what happens when a permit comes through. Community services, especially for demolition, check those houses are already flagged in some database. It may be the building inspector's office.
It is.
So you could generate from that list and go to the assessor's record to get the when it was last sold. Or maybe it's all together in community services. I don't know.
Yeah, I know that's a great point, and I forgot that I know that I've spoken with Amanda and Kim.
Mhm.
I don't know about Glenn. I did talk to Mark, but I do know that, and actually we all know this, that anytime a demolition permit is requested for
Any property.
any permit, well, I think it may only be demolition permit, but maybe any permit. But the point is that the building department has a list there. They may have gotten it originally from the assessors,
Mhm.
but they have it within the community development department. Amanda will know about this, and that they can then check to see, with respect to that property, whether that property is flagged as being on our list. So I wonder what information, Amanda, that list has. They may have all of the homeowners of that property. So maybe a conversation with Amanda would help. And then maybe, Pino, you and I can talk. I mean, feel free, if you know Amanda. I know her quite well. And I'd be happy to talk to her. But you're right. Or the assessors. The assessors are very helpful. And perhaps a call to somebody in the assessor's office, indicating that you're on the historical commission and this is a project that we're working on. Do they have any thoughts?
Okay.
They may even be able to come up with the list of the specific homes. If they are flagged on their list, they may be able to come up with a list of only those homes and the homeowners on it. Charlene, yes.
I'm looking at the assessor's records right now, and there's a house on the inventory that's on my street. And it has the homeowner, the address, and under comments, it says historical. One issue I see here is that it says the last sale date was in November of this year. I'm guessing they refinanced, that this isn't when they purchased the house. So that could be an issue using this source for the most recent, when it turned over.
Right, but it could be a source for communication to everybody from the historical
Yes,
commission.
and it does have the name of the owner.
Right, we might have to somehow double check this list to determine, to see if we can find out a way to ascertain who new homeowners are. I agree.
Yeah.
But it also may be that information may be the exact same information that's on the list that the community development department has.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on there too, or we could take this offline too if you want, real quick. But I'm on there too. But where is it under property lookup tools, or how'd you get there?
Let me go back to the beginning.
Okay,
Well, I went to the town assessors page and it says search by,
Yep.
and you can do street, parcel, or owner.
Oh, but is there a list with everything, or you have to look up the specific?
Well, I put in Wakefield Street,
Oh, okay.
and I know 65 is on the inventory, and I looked at 65. And under comments, it says historical. And then it says the owner's name, and it also says the sale date, but they've been living there for years. I know that they didn't just move in last month.
Okay.
So it's probably a refinance.
So,
Amelia,
you know,
go ahead.
I just emailed you the link to the PDF that's got all the property, all the
Mhm.
addresses in town in it.
And
Yeah, and actually I do see here that there is information on when they bought the house, and how do I get back to
Okay.
it? Sales. Yeah. So it shows the sale date, 2013 for this property.
Pino, my suggestion is, just start looking at this, and I'm sure issues are going to pop up, but
Yep.
feel free to, let us know how you're doing. Obviously, we won't be able to communicate with you, but if you could keep us updated, and if you want to talk to, to me or to any of us
Or, yeah.
individually, you feel free to do that. And then let's put this also on the agenda for coming up, and we'll just keep pursuing
So we
this.
want current owner and last sell date.
Yeah, under sales, it says when the house turned over.
I think the information we're trying to get is we want to just get a contact list. So we want to get the owners and contact information. But the other thing is the other piece of information that we'd like to be able to get is new owners of structures that are on the list. That would, I guess, would be a question to have with the assessors, I assume.
Yeah, there is a way to get the sale date of when the current owner bought the house.
Okay. I'll work it.
All right,
Sorry?
let me know if I can help in any way.
Okay, thanks, guys. So back to the other question. Did anybody want to further advocate for the commission pursuing the tax incentive or the financial incentive, or should we just move to a discussion about going forward with the extending the demolition delay? I want to give everybody an opportunity to.
Financial stimulus from the town. But I do think that we should try to extend the delay period.
Okay, so I guess the question is, does anybody think it is something that you want to pursue with us? And if there isn't anybody, let's just move to the next issue. And I get the feeling we're moving to the next issue. So one question is, is now the time to pursue a warrant article? And by the way, generally, I mean, right now the town meeting is on Zoom itself, and well, I don't know if that's an issue, but the usual way things work is the Springtown meeting, which is usually in April, which is in April, is invariably the important conversation is about the budget, and particularly in these times. That's really what town meeting focuses on. So it's not, it is the case that they have been known to take up other matters, but my suspicion is that this is not something that we should add, particularly because it's likely to prompt debate, if not some contentious debate or disagreement or differences of opinion. We should not pursue it in the Springtown meeting. I should also say that in a Springtown meeting, the way town meeting works is, and I'm going to make this up, but I'm generally correct on this. The time period within which things need to be submitted for the town meeting is ridiculously in advance. It is way in advance of the actual town meeting date. I believe it may even be February, if not before. Virginia, you may know, but
I think it's about three months at least.
so if
Right.
you're April, then it is February. That you have to have the submission for the article. So even putting aside spring, the next town meeting is November, which would mean probably by September is when we should be ready to go forward. And I guess I would say, so it will be at a town meeting, it would probably be a town meeting. Is that in November of 2021? And I would suggest that if we do this, we should be prepared to involve ourselves in extensive research and preparation for a pretty compelling presentation to town meeting. I would also suggest, I have been raising this since 1995 when I started on town meeting, and at the time I was on CPDC. Board, committee, and commission members, even if they're not town meeting members, are permitted by the general bylaw to attend and to speak to matters that they are responsible for. And even if that weren't the case, board, committee, commission members should, in my opinion, not leave it to the chair to be the sole person, or any single person to be the sole person to make the presentation to town meeting. If we're going to do this, all of us, including our associates, should show up, be in attendance, and not necessarily be prepared to speak. We should have one spokesperson, but maybe speak in support of it. But just be there to show support, because that's really imperative. And I mentioned that I was always the person on CPDC who was a town meeting member, so it invariably fell on me. And although I always asked other people to participate, they never did. So I'm going to raise it now, and I'm going to raise it between now and November. Be prepared to work on this. It's going to require all of us to participate. We're going to have to reach out to towns and other commissions to find out what they're doing. I think we're going to have to do a presentation, a good presentation of the properties that are important to us, the properties that are important to the town, the properties that we've lost and why we've lost them, in order to sell this. And I know we've said it before, particularly to you, Amelia, because I know how strongly you feel about this, and I'm sure we all feel strongly about it. Who knows what evil lurks in the minds of men, as they say. But there are many people in town and many people at town meeting who have a strong libertarian bent, and we all know how this town is now as divided as I think it's ever been in the 34 years I've been here, and our whole country is divided. So this could be particularly contentious, because there are a lot of people who feel very strongly that the government and the town should not be restricting what people can and cannot do, however insignificant or minor this particular restriction is. Trust me, it will generate a lot of emotion from a lot of people. So it's going to require a lot. There will be a lot of people who will not appreciate being told that there's going to be a longer period of time that I'm going to have to wait to sell my house if I happen to live in one of your homes. That's unconscionable, and it shouldn't be done. We should cut it to 3 months. So just be prepared for that battle. And as Virginia pointed out, I think that is the case, that at the time it went forward, the commission wanted to keep it at 12 months, was it?
No, someone wanted to cut it.
Oh, someone wanted to cut it to 6 months.
Yes.
And it
they
was
did.
cut to 6 months.
Yes, they did.
But so the good thing about the argument is this is what has resulted. Every time a home has come up, we've lost it. But trust me, there will be a lot of people who are going to say, so what? That's evolution. That's what happens in societies. Anyhow, enough said on that.
Well, it seems like the 6 months is so short and makes such a little difference. We might as well try to get that longer time that
Agreed.
we'll have a chance to.
Agreed. The argument is compelling that 6 months amended, but it might as well be 0 months if it's going to be 6 months. And trust me, somebody will jump up and say, I move to
Yeah.
amend it to 0 months. And that could happen, by the way. I mean, anybody can file a motion. So what will happen, by the way, just so you know, is that it will be an article. It will be an article that we'll propose to the select board, I assume, that this be an article on town meeting. It'll be placed at town meeting, and then at a particular town meeting session, it will come up and they will ask for a presentation in support of the motion to do this. And then so you can have whoever does it will have 10 minutes to do this, and that 10-minute period can be extended by permission of the town meeting. And if you ask in advance, you will get it. I have been silenced after my 10 minutes on more than one occasion by the moderator, but you can get more than 10 minutes, and then you can do a presentation, a video presentation, and an oral presentation, and then it will be opened up to discussion. And the discussion will be much like this, where town meeting members will raise their hand and talk in support of or in opposition to it. And it could go on for a long period of time. They could move to table it. They could move to amend it. I think the amendments generally have to be within the four corners of the language in the motion. But they can amend it. And this could go on for a period of time until the discussion is exhausted or until somebody moves the question and the town meeting votes to vote, and then there will be a vote on it. It's not a zoning article, so it's just a strict majority vote. So that's the process.
Mhm.
Virginia.
One quick anecdote. I would suggest we go full steam ahead with preparation for it, but if the fall is still being done by Zoom, I would suggest that we hold off another year for it, because Zoom is not a particularly good format for the interaction, and you don't get the sense of how the body feels. So that would be my recommendation.
And I would endorse that. It's actually it works fine, because you gotta do stuff. But you're absolutely right. You don't get. It's not like this Zoom. You don't get to see the people for some reason, and I don't know why this is the case. They don't show. Well, there's 192 people in town meeting, but you don't get to see the people. You don't get to see their names. But when they raise their hand to talk, they are identified and they then get to speak, but you don't get to see them, and you don't get to see anybody else participating. And I agree that during a presentation, particularly a presentation from the Historical Commission, I would think that there would likely be some people, and it would be more at a Zoom meeting than at the actual meeting, who won't be paying attention to what the presentation is. So I totally agree that if it's a Zoom town meeting, then it's probably not a good idea to go forward. Okay, any other comments about this? I take it, is there a consensus that we do go forward with this at either the November town meeting or next time? I mean, is there anybody who doesn't want it, doesn't suggest that we should do it? I don't think we need a vote, but no, okay. Okay, so, and I don't know that there's any need at this particular point to nail down whether it's 12 months, 18 months, or 24 months, unless anybody feels strongly that we do that. I mean, I would suggest at a minimum, we should survey what everybody else does. And at a minimum, we should end up doing 18 months so that we could settle at 12. But so any discussion about that? Okay, I guess what I would like to suggest is I would be happy to contact Chris Skelly, I guess for starters, and just ask him, we are interested, Reading is interested, the Historical Commission is interested in seeking to go to its town meeting to extend the demolition delay period from its present 6 months. does he have information from other towns or historical commissions as to what their demolition delay periods are, or does he have any other information that would be relevant or useful to us, and find out what he can tell us? Yes, Virginia.
I think that's very important. Chris is very well aware that Reading's demolition delay period was reduced from 12 to 6 months. In fact, he was the one that asked me to speak at one of the preservation conferences, and I did a slideshow on how we rode the roller coaster and went from 12 months down to 6 months. So he will be very helpful and knowledgeable on that.
Yeah, I agree. And again, he's reached out to me because there was some discussion on the MHC
Listserv.
listserv about what I think I might have mentioned this a year ago or longer. What information did historical commissions have to support compelling compelling owners of properties who have agreed to an early release to do things to mitigate? What did towns do to compel them to do that? And I spoke with him. In fact, I shared with him our early release agreement language. I was the only. I think we were the only ones that came up with something that could be done. But well, never mind. We don't need to go into that. So yeah, he's very aware of what we do. And I do remember there was a survey question asked a year or more ago about what the towns do. So he is also well aware of that information. Pino, yes.
Oh, I found a list, says it's current as of April 30th on preservationmass.org, and it has that guy Skelly's name on it.
And when you say, what's the list?
Demo delay by municipalities.
Oh, good.
Wow. Can you send, you want to send that? Can you send that to all of us?
Yeah. You on it on the Zoom or email?
No, just email it.
Yep.
Just email it. And then let's keep this on our agenda as well, Amelia, to talk about at our next meeting, because I think, and I think ultimately, I'm not sure we need to do this now unless you feel it, but we may want to set up a subcommittee of two of us to start to think about what a presentation, should look like, or what information we would want to gather, or just how we would want to put this together for a presentation. And maybe we can talk about that at the next meeting, unless anybody else has any other thoughts or ideas. Hey, how did you guys switch where you were located? Sam, you moved over to where Virginia was. Charlene moved over to where Virginia is now. Why do people move on my screen?
And that happens here too. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, enough said. Is there anything else? I didn't mean to hog the conversation. Anything else that people want to say about this topic? No, I'm glad we're doing it. I'm glad, Amelia, you have awakened us to this. It's important. I only hope it's successful, and at a minimum, doesn't regress us any further. But I mean that shouldn't happen. I mean, at a minimum, even if people get annoyed at the concept, there's really no harm to the 6 months. So, just file as these guys did at 25 Haven Street and wait till the spring and your 6 months will have elapsed. So, okay, we'll move forward. Thank you. Okay, finances. I guess, I have assumed, I just have been dealing with the loss of Jack with the issue with the utility box artwork. Unless somebody wants to step up and assume those responsibilities, I guess, I will continue to do that. Is there anybody who wants to be nominated to be treasurer? I guess I should offer that out.
What does
Charlene,
it involve?
have you never been the treasurer after all these years?
I have been a substitute treasurer multiple times.
Well, I will tell you, when I took it over from Sally back in 2014 or 15, she handed me the materials, which really didn't. It was only the monthly budget report, and said, "Good luck with doing this." So I just did it. It really. I mean, I have a file which I gave to Jack, and it has in it. I get monthly, and now we get them. I don't even get paper copies anymore. They are, and I guess this would suffice because we can keep it on our computer. We get the monthly budget information electronically. I will keep these, and I will send them to the RHC forwarding address, so they are at least getting to the computer. Other than that, so you take a look at it to make sure nobody's stealing our money. I mean, when somebody submits a bill or when we approve expenditure, when the expenditure is made after the fact, the treasurer will collect the receipts and will collect the approved minutes that contain the vote to approve the expenditure, and then fill out a form, which is very easy to fill out. I have it online and I can send it to whoever does it with the information, and submit it. And I assume electronically. I was giving it to Amanda, and she would take it to the treasurer's office. I assume now I haven't submitted any recently, but I've only spoken to in paying Franklin Marvel. I just sent the material electronically to Cindy McGrath, and she took care of it. That's really all that I know it involves. Virginia, any other thoughts?
No.
Oh, I can take that on.
Okay. And if not, I mean, I'll back you
Okay,
up on that. So I guess, thank you. And I am happy to back you up on that, Charlene, if I'm misrepresenting what it actually entails. So I guess I would move to nominate Charlene Reynolds Santo as treasurer. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. We got a second. We had two, but I'll go with Virginia, Sam, if it's okay.
You beat me to it.
Yeah, I got that. I saw your hand, but yeah, we should have a buzzer like a game show.
I keep trying to unmute myself in my own little square, but it's buttons way down at the bottom of the screen.
Just keep it unmuted. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Are there any further nominations? Hearing none. So let's vote. All in favor? I guess I have to make this a roll call vote as we do that. That's one of the things that's listed on the Zoom protocols, that we do this as a roll call vote. So all in favor of Charlene as treasurer, Sam?
Yes.
Charlene?
Yes.
Amelia?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
Jonathan is a yes. So it's 5-0. Congratulations. Thank you very much. I'll give you the key to the archives and a key to the safe deposit box. It's the same box.
Yeah.
By the way, I think people are aware, in taking care of the whole situation with the paying of Franklin, with that that $1,300 and whatever it was, $95 that we encumbered from last year's budget, we only had to spend out of our annual budget, I think $689. So we got $4,000 worth of utility box vinyl wrap artwork for $689. So thank you to the Reading Bank, Eastern Bank, and to Virginia for suggesting that we pursue that encumbering. It was a great idea. Okay, finances, I don't think there's anything else. Okay, administrative issues. I think everybody was on when we talked about, these were the two issues that came up at last meeting about possible file cabinets. And I think folks heard that I did request from Julie whether or not we could get file cabinet space. And at the beginning of the meeting, actually, she had informed me earlier on that we can get a file cabinet. which I believe is located, she said, I think it's located in her space. She has an office. I don't know whether it's going to get moved up there, but it's a file cabinet that's located in the community development office, if folks know where that is. And she indicated tonight that there are, I think, 2 file cabinets that are only 2 drawers. And then she mentioned there's another file cabinet that maybe it has 3 drawers. I'm not sure. But I suppose they're all up for grabs. Now, what I was pursuing was I have on my desk file folders of the cases that we've had, whether they be Postmark Square or Gould Street or any of them, Grove Street, any of the issues that we have for which we have accumulated hard paper, we have a file folder. Or if we've generated a file folder for when we did the rules and regulations, there may be some stuff in there. And I've been leaving it here. I was anticipating it, and this was the discussion we had, I know I'm repeating myself, in that file cabinet that's in the archives, and we now have access to this other file cabinet. So I'm going to ask, I don't know whether, Charlene, you have any of these files from when you were the chair, or Virginia. I know you have endless files, and this may be an opportunity for you to think about that if you want. But any files that you would want to put in this file cabinet, and we probably should reach out to Ron to see if he has kept any of those. And are there any other files that anybody can think of, or alternatively, Sam, did you want to, should you or 2 of us go to the archives to look around and assess whether there are other file folders that we may want, maybe in the file cabinet that's there, that we may want to move out of there?
Maybe we should figure out how many do we keep, let's say, the last 5 years worth of records upstairs, and then at some point they get transferred downstairs into the archive, the town archive room, or how we deciding how far back to go.
Well, I mentioned earlier that I have my files when I was at MIT, my legal files. I presume they're still there. I mean, lawyers, Pino, you can back me up on this. Lawyers don't want to get rid of any of the case files, but more importantly, I think, keep everything. But to your point, I think
keeping everything where, like,
well, in the file cabinet, we can keep them upstairs. But if Julie was suggesting that they're all going to be digitized, then then maybe we can agree to keep 5 years or 10 years and then just revert to the digitized copy in our computer. But for now, I think, I'd like it to be at least the files that I have. I think, those files for the cases that we have, we talked about them as probably not really being archive material. So I think all of those files, whether they be mine, Charlene's, Ron's, or Virginia's, or anybody's, should probably go to that file cabinet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess we need to, there is the file cabinet in the far corner that has our sort of RHC business record.
Is this in the corner by the window?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that something we would want to maybe move upstairs so it's all consolidated?
I've never even looked at that. I don't know what's in there. Virginia, your thoughts?
It's primarily the top drawer is business. It has the accession file and copies of old minutes and some of the activities that over the years.
So is it stuff that, as I'm describing, we would want to put in a file cabinet upstairs, or do you want to leave it there in the archives?
I don't know. I have a hard time ephemeral.
Well, how about
maybe if it's not anything we're needing to get to frequently, we would leave it downstairs until we're really taking a more comprehensive look at what's in the archive and what we want to keep.
Well, so let me suggest then for now that we think about that we utilize these offered file cabinets and space for the kind of case files that I'm describing, the Postmark Square files, that kind of stuff. And that at some point, either Sam, you, or you and I, or however you want to do this, we look at, or Virginia, whoever wants to, the file cabinet that's near the door. because that's the one that I think may have material like I'm describing. No, what's in there?
No,
Virginia?
that has all house addresses. So anything that we've gathered on various houses, and some of it is old historic stuff and others current too. So it's a mixture.
But you're saying
Yeah.
that's stuff that's more appropriate to be retained in the archive because it's
Probably.
archival type material.
Yeah.
Although I might tell you, I'll have to go through it because I may very well on my handful of instances when I've been down there, I might have taken a file and put it in there. So I'll go through it. But okay, so then it's just these files. So we may not need that much space, but Julie mentioned in an earlier email to me when she responded today, indicated that, and she copied Amanda on it, that Amanda will take the lead in coordinating this effort. So I will await hearing from Amanda as to how to proceed. And I assume, Sam, that that whatever takes place with respect to this after January, that I'll just pass that along to you, or you
Sure.
can delegate it however you want to do it. Okay, good. So that's the file cabinets. On the meeting dates, I have good news, Virginia. Julie also, I asked her about that, and she mentioned to me that the town has obtained additional Zoom licenses. So we are not restricted to just the one or two that we were restricted to before. So we do now have the ability to move to another night. The problem is that Friday night, she said, is not available. I'm not sure why, but I had raised that, but it's not available. Tuesday is probably, she suggested we should stay away from, just because there are so many other groups that it may be an issue. So that leaves us to Wednesday or Thursday. But we can go back to Wednesday if we want to do that. And if you continue to have a conflict, unless somebody else now has a problem with Wednesday, we can now move to Wednesday.
Great.
So do we want to do that, I should ask?
I have something every third Wednesday.
Okay. And I take it then you would not be available. I know Virginia had said that she can sometimes skip what she has. I forget what it was, but you would have to go to your other meeting.
Yeah, I run that.
Oh, you run that?
Yeah.
Oh, that could be amusing.
So we could just avoid that Wednesday.
That
Could we
yeah,
do
the
Thursday.
third Wednesday.
the
That's great.
Any
second
other Wednesday is
Wednesday?
fine. Yep.
Okay, so Charlene, when we schedule meetings, we'll generally do it Wednesdays. You just speak up and let us know when it's a problem. Well, we'll talk about that when we get to scheduling the meeting.
Mhm.
Okay, so that was good.
Good.
New business. Virginia. Oh,
No,
I'm sorry, I skipped over, sorry, time out. I skipped over the archive policy.
Oh, yeah.
Did we want to do that? I know we've looked at this before, and I know
Is there-
Sam.
Yeah, does anyone have anything else they wanted to change? I can show the current.
Just to get us updated, we raised this the last time, and you
Yes.
since then did add the language that you said you wanted to add, and then you sent it around to everybody. So
Yeah.
we now have the most recent version with whatever were my comments and whatever were these other comments.
Yep.
So I guess the question is, what is the commission's pleasure? Do we want to just vote it, or do we want to have further discuss it, vet it? Virginia.
well, this is going to be a living document, I assume,
Mhm.
so that if we accept it now, we can modify it in whenever we realize that it needs modification.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. So I'm personally comfortable, since all of my comments are on it. I'm perfectly comfortable in our accepting it as our
They're starting.
archive policy. But before we do that, does anybody want to revisit it? If anybody does, speak up.
I just saw one sort of oversight.
Oh, sure.
In section 2, under collection policies, you say we will keep a list of the property that's not part of the collection. And and that will be stored separately from the collection materials, but all that stuff should also be stored separately, right? Not just a list of the stuff, but the stuff as well.
Oh, yes, ideally we'd keep the stuff separate from, or at least somewhere in the room where we know, like, this is RHC stuff versus this is part of the archive, and it shouldn't leave the room without, a special reason.
Right.
Yes, so I should fix that.
So I,
So are you proposing, is there some language that you're proposing?
Yeah,
or
that is confusing.
yeah, so.
Where are you guys, just, I have it up on my iPad, but
Yeah. Section 2.
Second paragraph?
Yeah.
Second paragraph, yeah. So Sam, I just thought if you just dropped or you moved the list, the first 3 words,
Yep.
mission property that's not part of the collection and a list thereof will be kept and stored separately.
Oh, lovely. Thank you.
genius, genius. Okay, Charlene, I think, Amelia, was that it for you?
Yeah.
Thank you. Charlene?
Well, I was reading it, and I know we had some older sessions documents, and we had a letter that we used when we made donations. And my first thought was, adding that information in here. But it's been a long time since I've been involved with those things, and how it's done now may be completely different. And if this is a living document, I think it doesn't matter.
I kind of
Get that
assume,
specific.
yeah, that the next step would be to gather all those types of forms and letters and things that we would use as an addendum,
Okay.
So when someone donates something, here's the letter we send mom and
Right.
Yeah.
agreement. And
Yep.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
actually, that's right. And that's how we should do it. And I think those should be ultimately attached.
yeah, it'd be
And then as we
Yep.
revise them, we can update it. But yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Other thoughts, Charlie?
Nope.
Okay, anybody else? Any other thoughts? If not, I am happy to move that the commission accept and adopt the draft of the Reading Town Archive Policy Manual. Is there a date on it? I think it was a December date. I had a December date, but,
yes, I will add a date.
or it has a draft 4. I may have put those on it, but I want to identify it somehow.
I don't keep multiple versions of it. I just update the one. So,
Okay,
but I could put a date on it.
Yeah, rev date or something.
Yeah.
well, let's
Yeah.
put a date on it as of today.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
exactly.
it'll have today's date, if you would, Sam.
Yep.
In which case, then my motion would be that we accept and adopt the Reading Town Archive Policy Manual dated December 17th, 2020.
Should we add something in there about it being a living document?
Yeah, we should adopt
Yeah.
the Archive Policy Manual.
Will be updated and revised as needed.
Yes, as actually as revised tonight, and as revised, as modified and revised in future meetings.
So any changes to this have to come through a meeting and be approved that way.
Yeah, I mean, as I think any of our other policies or regulations that it'd have to be voted on.
Okay.
Okay, so does that sound like a reasonable motion? Are you okay, Amelia?
Yeah.
Okay, so then can we get a second?
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, excuse me. Let's vote. Sam,
Yes.
Charlene,
Yes.
Amelia,
Yes.
Virginia,
Yes.
Jonathan is a yes. So it's 5-0, accepted and adopted.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah. I'll make those little changes and get out the sort of
Yeah.
today's.
If you would, I'm ad-libbing here, but I'm assuming, and maybe I should check either the charter or the bylaw. But I'm assuming, I'll check it, but I'm assuming it should have to be submitted to the town clerk as a as an
Okay.
adopted document. Would you, Sam, just send it, I guess send it to me?
Sure.
Either that, or if you don't do it by next week, you can hold on to it and send it yourself as the chair to
Okay.
Laura. But I do think we need to, I'll take a quick look at what we need to do, but it should at least be, I think, submitted to Laura as the town clerk. Okay, great. New business, back to Virginia.
I'd like to just mention that we had a very good walkthrough for the post office square. And do you think we should send a letter of thanks or just have it in our minutes that we attended the site visit on that date, whatever it was? Because that was kind of unusual for us to get an invite to do that.
Well, yes, and it's funny that you mentioned it because it was on my list of things to mention.
Okay.
Only because I got an email from David. I can probably find it. Not as quick at this stuff as you guys. Oh, who's the puppy?
Oh.
And who's the child? There goes the puppy and the child.
Oh, she's on mute.
You were muted. Can't hear you.
Sorry, the puppy was Willow. The kid was Arthur.
Well, it was nice to see Arthur and Willow.
She just gets carried around.
I was going to say, Willow looks like she's well taken care of.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I got an email from David, which he basically was just saying, did you send a letter to? Hang on, I'm going to try to find it. Did you send a letter to Julie about the site visit? And could you send me a copy? Jonathan, did you send out something to Julie about your approval for our project? Could you forward me a copy, please? Because if you remember, he initially contacted us saying that the town has asked us to have you review the final construction and do a walkthrough. So he then followed that up on December 8th. I then responded by saying I didn't because I wasn't sure I needed to. So I then did. I'm sorry, let me get back to Zoom so I'm back on the screen. So I then sent an email to Julie saying, Julie, I've had a conversation with David, just wanting to confirm that the Historical Commission had the walkthrough of Postmark Square, and something to the effect that we did not have any concerns regarding the project, any concerns or issues regarding the project as a result of that walkthrough. Is this sufficient or do you need anything else from me? And she said, that's great. That's all I need.
That should go in our records somewhere as well.
Yeah, and if I didn't, I'll find that email, and if I didn't send it to the RHC forwarding address, I will.
What's David's last name?
O'Sullivan.
Okay, thanks.
I'm sorry, give me a minute to just write down that note, because if I don't write down that I should do it, I won't do it. I can't believe my pen just ran out of ink. Send to RHC forwarding address. Yeah, and what I would do, I had mentioned this earlier, I started, I didn't get very far, but on the computer, in the documents folder, there are subfolders for different subjects, and I started to make them for Gould Street, for Postmark Square.
Good.
And my objective was to put Word documents that we have into that. And in addition, in the email, I forget what it is, Outlook or whatever it is, I was making email folders for the for the subjects, and every time I email something to the RHC forwarding address, my goal was to move those emails, in addition to moving attached documents to the Word folders. I wanted to move those emails to the folder for postmark. Suffice it to say, I haven't gotten very far on that, but that's what I want to do, and I will do that. Thank you. Okay, so anything else, Virginia?
Yes,
Yes.
one other item. I think you've talked about if this house could talk book. Do you want to take that up under consideration tonight as to whether we should buy one for the archives?
Yes, Sam suggested that we do that as well. I don't know if she mentioned it to everybody, but I
Yes.
firmly agree
Right.
that we should. So yes, I think if let's discuss that now, and unless there's some disagreement, we should vote to expend. I think it was $60.
Yes.
60, yeah, or yeah,
60 was the
60 for the
hardcover.
softbound.
No, 60 I think for the hardcover and
Okay.
55 for the soft.
For the
but I'll
soft.
check that.
Correct.
Yeah.
So is there any other thoughts about that, or does anybody not want to do it?
I just want to add that I reviewed that. She asked me to do some editing on it, and it looks very impressive. My only concern is I think it's rather expensive, but that, I guess, is the way that it was published. So
Who's doing it?
she's doing it through Shutterfly.
But I mean,
Sarah.
is it the excuse me, is it the 350th committee that's sponsoring it? Who's
No.
actually?
I think she's putting the funds out for it, Sarah Brucaccio.
Oh, and you're suggesting that that's just a high price for anybody else to buy it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but if these are like a very low volume and there are a lot of photographs, I scanned a bunch of my father-in-law's photos, and I made him a book through another service, and that was $100. So
Oh, okay.
it just, when you're not doing very many, the price goes up.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's for a but I'm glad to know it's a good good volume. It seemed like something we were kind of involved with the event quite a bit. It'd be nice to have.
Yeah,
Well,
I agree.
The interesting thing is that a lot of the houses within the book are not particularly historic houses. So you get a sense of some of the built environment, if you will.
Yeah, the whole neighborhood rather than just one house here and there.
Which reminds me, and I can't believe I've completely forgotten about this. I'm sorry, but just to make a note, 27 Hillcrest and 831 Main, it's completely fallen off my.
Oh yeah, they want to do that.
Yeah. So Amelia, can you make a note that we should let's discuss it at the January meeting, and then we can talk about a time schedule for that, because I want to get back on that, or propose to Sam that we get back on that and do it. So on this point, I agree. So unless anybody disagrees, I'm happy to move that the commission purchase a hardcover copy of the 375th If This House Could Talk volume or book, hardcover book, for $60.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion. Whoops, I just lost the screen. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, do a roll call. Sam?
Yes.
Charlene?
Yes.
Amelia?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
And Jonathan is yes, so it's 5-0. I guess I would suggest that I can follow up with Sarah, or Sam, did you want to do it? I mean,
Would you mind?
No.
No, you're not the treasurer now. I was thinking you could kill him.
I'll contact Sarah.
Okay, I sent the email around, so.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you have our
And
assurance
then once
that,
we have it, we can, I'll find a place for it.
yeah. Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
like, well, surely there's room for one more book down there.
All right.
Well, hopefully we can move something upstairs and we'll
Yeah.
find the space.
Yeah.
So,
There are some things we could put in the filing cabinets, even if
Yeah.
it's not paper files, some of our stuff.
so we should probably go after the bigger of the file cabinets just to get our hosey on it.
That's right.
Charlene, are you okay? Are you okay fronting that $60 and then getting reimbursed? or-
Yeah, because I ordered one myself and she said that to pay for it when it comes in.
Okay.
So,
So by then we'll have the approved minutes and we can hopefully
Yep.
get that money quickly.
Yep.
Okay. So I think Virginia, you raised that. Was there anything else you wanted to raise? I have a couple, but no?
No,
Okay.
No.
Anybody else on new business?
No.
Okay. Pino.
Oh, sorry, I was having trouble with the mute button. Any word on the new our applications for membership changes?
Yes, actually, I think I've already shared with you, but from what I was, yes, thank you. I sent in the request to the select board to fill both vacancies. Jack's I asked to fill since his resignation was immediately. I asked to fill that one right away, and then Ron sent in his resignation effective December 31st. So I requested that that we fill that one effective for January. I did ask in my conversations with the select board chair, Mark Doxer, because I knew that the Historic District Commission was moving their request to fill, and as they were calling it, some sort of reorganization or reassignments. And Mark indicated that he was hoping to get that on the agenda for the 17th, but I know it wasn't put on the agenda. And I do now see, so I asked if they're going to be moving that one that expeditiously, could they also move ours? And would he also share with me any applications that they got for either position, both positions? I have since seen that it is when the select board publishes their agenda, they publish a draft of future agendas, and they have both the Historic District Commission and the Historical Commission on the agenda for January 5th.
what
I've
day?
seen January 5th.
Thank you.
And I have seen some emails. I was included. I'm not sure why. I don't even remember the detail. I'm sorry. But they were pertaining to those positions. And Kim indicated to whoever sent the emails, I can't remember, might have been Julie, I don't remember who the heck it was, but anyhow, Kim indicated that the select board was intending to vote on the positions on January 5th, and they were therefore desirous of having the VASC, the Volunteer Selection Committee, go through the interviews and make their recommendations before the January 5th meeting, so they could do it at the January 5th meeting. So there's a good likelihood that that's going to happen. It all depends on whether the VASC is going to be able to do that. So I should also say that I reached out to both Tyler D'Ambrosio and Ian, may get their names wrong, O'Leary, and indicated to them that we had these vacant positions, the one regular position and the associate coming up in January. And I encouraged them to apply and be considered. And they both were appreciative of that fact. I did also indicate that we had an associate member who had also expressed an interest in the regular position and moving into the regular position. But I did want to mention the two positions to them and encourage them to apply. And both of them indicated to me that they would like to apply to the associate position. What they do, I don't know, or what they're going to do, I don't know. I did reach out to the town clerk to find out what applications they received, and I got a very vague answer, and I wasn't clear that they got any applications, including yours, Pino, but I assume they have yours. So that's all I can tell you, but hopefully by January 5th, we should have some information. And I should also say, in the past, they have invited me to sit in on the interviews.
Good.
Which I would like to do if I'm available, and would hope to do. I don't intend to participate, but I would like to, unless I'm asked, but I would like to do that. So that's the information that I have, Pino. So I'm looking forward to that, and hopefully Ian and Tyler will apply for, and we'll have the other associate position filled, and I'd be delighted to be able to go forward with a full bench. And then if we get other applications of other people, I'd be happy to reach out to them, or Sam suggests that you reach out to them, just to encourage them to attend our meetings and to participate. So that's that. Everybody saw the letter that I sent out to 302 Franklin, was it 302 on the
420, Franklin?
420.
I'm sorry. 320 Haverhill Street,
Oh,
Oh,
Sawtell.
yep,
Yeah.
Sawtell.
So that's taken care of, I hope.
Yeah.
And I also I sent around the letter, did I not, from Criterion in response to my letter to them?
Yes, I thought that was very interesting response.
Yes,
Mhm.
and I'm sure you noted that they did not respond to my request to find out how much money they spent.
Mhm.
I'm not surprised, and I don't think I'm going to pursue that, but I was actually
Yeah.
gratified that they responded. I was thinking of following up with them, but yeah, that was an interesting response. Does anybody have any comments about it? I just want to make sure everybody got it.
No.
Virginia.
Well, how do we really know that they did make those visits? We have to take them at their word for it.
Well, I believe that's the answer to the question, that we have to take their word for it, or we could go for a site visit, which I know we're not going to do now, but perhaps we should in the spring, and take a look at these things, or just walk by. I know they said that they've made some repairs to the roof. I mean, the repairs to the fencing, that's probably the temporary fence that they put up. I don't really care about that, but I'm assuming we can take a look at the repairs to the roof. We're not going to know anything about the water line, I assume. But I'd like to think they're not misrepresenting those facts, although that's a common occurrence these days. But I mean, I think we just continue to pursue this. I want to follow up, or Sam, I'd suggest again, you follow up, or I'm happy to do it. I mean, in the spirit of moving things, sharing some of the responsibility, but they said that they were hopeful, I forget what it was, in 4 to 8 weeks or something, that they'd be, I mean, we just need to keep the heat on them and say, you know, you said that you were going to have some bids put out, and hopefully moving forward, we'd love to have you come to our meeting and tell us where it stands, and just keep the pressure on them.
Right.
So that's, I think, all we can do at this point. And if it still looks like that we're getting nowhere, then I do think we need to bring up to the select board that the town needs to step up here. Okay. The last item on the new business, which I think is important, is 25 Haven Street. I sent that around, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so, and I raised 2 questions, and I think, Sam, you asked me, but so the way this process works, as I think we all know from our procedures and from the bylaw, the building inspector plays a role in determining whether the application is complete, but by our procedures, which we have in writing, the chair of the historical commission is responsible for communicating back to the community development department, to the building department, when the commission states that the application is complete. And that's important because the time frame to schedule the demolition delay hearing runs from when that communication from the chair goes out. I also want to make sure we all remember, there was a period of time, I don't have the bylaw in front of me, but there was a period of time when we were of the opinion that we had to schedule the hearing within some ridiculous period of time, 21 days of the determination that the application is complete, but we've since moved away from that. And I want to make clear that you're on board on this, Sam. I'll find it, just wait for me. The bylaw says, notify the chairman of the commission who will provide the building inspector with alternative dates for a public hearing not sooner than 7 days, nor more than 21 days from the determination that the application is complete. And there was a time when we thought that that meant that the hearing has to be within that time period. But we've since realized rightly that it doesn't mean that. It just means that we have to communicate the hearing date within that period. Because it's technically virtually impossible to do it within 21 days,
Right.
since we have to have a meeting to schedule it, and we have to provide 14 days notice. So you're already blowing the 21-day requirement.
What
So
has happened between that 7 days and the 21 days?
the chairman provides the building inspector with alternative dates for the hearing, not
Oh,
sooner
okay.
than 7 days nor more than 21 days
Okay.
from the determination. So within that 7 and 21 day window from tonight, within that 7 day and 21 day from whenever we conclude that the application is complete and we send that email, we have to send a communication to the building inspector. Here are the dates, or the date that we will meet. The meeting can be in January, February, March. I mean, I'm not suggesting that we put it off.
Yeah.
We do it as soon as possible, but I want to be clear that we understand what that requirement is. So now the question and the one that I wanted to discuss is, do we think that application is complete? And I just want to parenthetically note, I mean, I'm saddened to see this building proposed for demolition. I know it's been vacant for years, and I'm shocked at that, but and I'm not surprised that something's happening. And I note that it's in the downtown smart growth district, so it's going to be like all of the other horrible results. But that was and remains the last vestige of a beautiful Art Deco building and a historical, cultural, important building to town. And I would love to try to keep it, or at least keep its facade, if we can. So, and that leads me to the question about the bylaw. In order to determine that it's complete, let me find that. Stay with me. The owner, and this will be the chair's responsibility going forward, Sam. They have to provide all of the information that's in the bylaw, and it's listed in the application. You'll see it listed there on the second page or something, the list of things that they have to provide: a completed application form, a description of the structure to be demolished. The inventory is an acceptable document. They did give us the inventory. A demolition plan, and Amanda subsequently sent that around. That's a demolition plan, meaning it's crazy, but how they're going to demolish the building. The assessor's map or plot plan showing the location of the structure to be demolished with reference to neighboring properties. I think that was included in there. I believe it was, but we should make sure that it was. Photographs of all facade elevations, that was there.
Yep.
Sorry?
That was there, yep.
Okay. And this is important. A statement of the reasons for the proposed demolition and data supporting said reasons. Now, this is going to get subjective, plus the next one, which is a description of the proposed reuse of the premises on which the structure to be demolished is located. So a statement of the reasons for the proposed demolition and data supporting, I would argue, means the building is 150 years old, its foundation is falling apart, it's in disrepair, nobody's been in it, there's vermin, there's a hole in the roof, it's falling apart and cannot be rehabbed at a reasonable cost. And here's the data of a inspection or a surveyor or somebody else supporting that information. That might be crazy to a client who we know wants to demolish it, but the point is it's in the bylaw. And I would also say, statement of reasons for the proposed demolition. An applicant's going to say, I did have a line in there that said, I'm going to demolish it and turn it into a commercial property and residential property per the downtown smart growth district. So that's the reason I want to convert it. So the question that I'm raising is, do we want to say that's not sufficient? And I kind of want to, because I want to sort of prolong this, but not unfairly, but I'm torn because I know they want to demolish it. And I'm not sure we can ask for data supporting it because we know they're not claiming that it needs to be demolished because it's in uninhabitable state. So I just wanted to throw that out. And similarly, I wanted to throw that out with respect to the next issue, which is a description of the proposed reuse of the premises. Sam asked the question, don't we normally ask them to provide plans and details and information? Isn't that the same discussion we had with, Guy Manganiello? And isn't it the same thing that we've asked for from other developers? To which I would respond by saying, we have had this discussion before, I distinctly remember, and we were reluctant to push too hard on insisting on detailed plans and specs because the bylaw isn't clear that that's what it means. It simply says a description of the proposed reuse and would not a statement saying, I am describing my reuse as consistent with the bylaw to have a commercial and residential development on site. And I think we said before that we didn't necessarily feel that we could insist on it in advance before we say that the application is complete, but rather we would inform the applicant that we're going to be asking them to provide those plans as a part of the hearing process. And we are not, I'm not saying we're going to say this to the developer at that point, but we are not going to conclude the hearing because we don't think that we have sufficient information until we have that information and have a full discussion about whether it's appropriate. So if you follow me, the question is, how far do we want to push both of those issues before we say that the application is complete?
I'm just with scrolling through. They don't say, well, the only reason to demo is, the only thing they say is demolition of existing building to make way for a new multi-use building with retail, restaurant, and residential units.
So that's my description of the reuse.
Yes, that's all we have.
But I'm saying that's what they would say, Sam.
That's what's on the application.
Huh?
That's what's on the application, right?
Right,
now.
and
So it's something.
It is exactly. And when the bylaw says merely a description of the proposed reuse is not a sentence saying demolish the building and put up a restaurant, residential, and commercial building. Isn't that a description of the reuse?
Yeah. My question is, there's nothing saying why they need to knock the current one down or why they want.
Well, I agree. And that goes to my comment earlier when I said at a minimum, I want to pursue with them, even if they clearly are going to be pursuing a development project, a la the Downtown Smart Growth District, that they should preserve. I mean, all we really care about at this point, since the inside is a Rite Aid building, all we really care about, I believe, is the facade of the structure. And we want them to include that. And I feel pretty strongly that we should push that. So yes, I personally want to say that you haven't provided reasons for the proposed demolition of the existing structure, which is a historical, architectural and cultural structure, and provided data supporting that. At a minimum, I want to say that it's not complete until we get that. So I agree with you about that. And I just want to, I want to throw it out for everybody, because this will have to be, I think, I don't think we need a vote on that, but I just want it to be a consensus of the group.
Yeah,
You agree?
yeah,
Charlene?
I agree.
Well, Amelia's nodding her head too. At least on this question of why you have to demolish the facade.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Virginia?
I have several concerns about this. First of all, did the new owner actually sign the application? Do we know who the new owner is? And this goes back to a long time ago when the developer signed the application, and it needs to be the owner of the property. So that needs to be clarified. And I have a concern that the adjacent property on the corner of High Street and Haven is also a very historic building, part of Black's Block. And it seems to me that they would really want to buy both parcels and put in a huge development there. So I'm just cautioning about that. So do you think, are you saying that this is the current owner, or is it still owned by Walgreens, or has the transfer been accomplished?
Well, two things. I take it, Sam, this is the application?
Yep. I just shared that. I was a little confused because there's the owner's signature, and I don't know what name that is.
Probably Shelby Francis.
Exactly.
And then the owner, Mr. Lima, has given permission for Shelby to sign, but then there's another sign owner's name. Whose signature is that?
Well, I'm assuming it's Walderi Lima. And
Okay.
back to the question up at the top of the form, they indicate as the owner is 25 Haven Street LLC.
Okay.
That's not on this. That must be on the other. Okay, there you go.
Yep, it's on the first page.
Yeah. So they listed, because, and I'm in agreement with all your point, Virginia. That's why, if you noticed in my email back to Amanda, I asked her to clarify, who was the owner and, to distinguish it. And it has been completed. And presumably, so the owner is this 25 Haven Street LLC. So there's a limited liability corporation there apparently. And this guy Walderi is, or woman, whoever that is the owner. And I'm assuming that's his or her signature on the owner's signature. And I'm not sure, we can question the legitimacy of it. Although it definitely looks like when Amanda came back with the name Shelby Francis, that clearly looks like Shelby Francis and not Walderi, whatever the last name was.
Mm-hmm.
So we can raise that question, I suppose, and insist. Now, why is that?
I was just confused by the language of the form.
No, I agree. But Virginia, are you raising that there's a substantive reason why that may be important?
Yes, because in the past, a developer had applied for the demolition delay, and he didn't even own the property. So we realized that you've got to make sure that the owner is on board for this, because otherwise anyone could apply for a demolition permit in anticipation of perhaps owning it.
Mm-hmm.
So do we think we should push back and say, we want them to confirm that where it says owner's signature, that's Walderi, whatchamacallit? And
I guess we want to know who owns the LLC company.
well, but have they not answered it in the second page? And does it matter to us if the owner is 25 25 Haven LLC? I mean, does it make a difference? If that's the owner, if a corporation owns the property, it doesn't really matter that much, or does it?
Well, do we know for sure that the transaction has taken place, that they are truly the owners?
Well, I hear you on that, but they say they are. I mean, are we suggesting that the form should have an attestation that they do own it? I mean, or,
Oh,
What's the address?
25 Haven Street.
Yeah.
It's owned by 25 Haven Street LLC
okay.
as of May of this year. They bought it from Walgreen Eastern Company.
And does it say who they are?
No,
No,
that's why they make them LLCs.
Right, but I'm not sure that it matters to us as long as, as long as the owner is the owner. If a company owns it, a company owns it.
Yeah.
So it seems like we need to ask for the statement of reasons for the proposed demolition.
Absolutely. I'm writing that down right
And
now.
it's right here on the thing, so we might as well ask for it. See what they say.
Well, that we definitely should ask for. That, they haven't provided a statement of reasons for the demolition of the building.
I don't see anything else that looks missing.
Well, then the question is, so we don't want to push back with respect to plans, because they probably don't have them, by the way.
Yeah.
Plans regarding the description of the proposed reuse, but when we schedule the hearing, I think, and this is what we decided previously, that we can't necessarily insist as a prerequisite to concluding that the application is complete, that they provide specific plans and details, but we can require it as a part of the hearing process. And we should, as a matter of practice, when we communicate to the applicant that we're scheduling the hearing, we need to let them know that we are going to be requiring them to provide specific plans and details regarding the proposed reuse, because that will be a required subject of the demolition delay hearing.
That seems reasonable.
Yeah, I'm just stating it to pass along.
Yep. No,
my thought about it.
it's good to hear how that all comes together.
Okay, so I will, if I'm hearing this correctly, I will send back an email to Amanda saying that that it's not complete on the basis of not providing sufficient information regarding a statement of reasons for the specific proposed demolition of the structure. Why that facade must be demolished as a part of the proposal. That will put them on notice that we intend to assert the position that should be retained. Charlene, I'm sorry. I thought for some reason you were looking at something on the screen. It just occurred to me that you're actually have your hand up. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I looked up the 25 Haven Street LLC, and it was filed on April 13th of this year. The registered agent for this company is Walderi Lima, located at 611 Salem Street in Wakefield. The company has two principals on record, Claire Millett Lima of Wakefield and Walderi Lima of Wakefield.
So thank you.
I don't know how legitimate this site is. It's Bizipedia.
Well, how did you get it? How did you go to that?
I Googled it.
Oh. Well, but I think for our purposes, this is an issue. If this is really an issue, then we should take this up with respect to the town to change that form. To require proof of ownership somehow. I'm not suggesting that we do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so am I right that that's what we're looking to do, and I will do that? So at this point, that this application is not complete.
Right.
Right.
So we'll push back and presumably take this up at our January meeting, which hopefully will be within 21 days of having to pick a date, or we'll have to just pick a date otherwise. Something else I wanted to say. Oh, I'm sorry. This is a bit of a digression, but I want to ask the question. Sam, when you put up the application, I'm not asking you to do that, but before you put up the application, I was minimizing the Zoom screen and then going over to my files to call up my electronic copy of the application. But you put it on your screen, and then I seemed unable to minimize the Zoom screen. I don't know if anybody knows.
Oh, I took over.
Yeah, you took over, and I seemed not to be able to. I don't need to worry about this now, but I am curious about that. I don't know if anybody has any better expertise. Because I then wanted to just go get it on my document so I could.
I haven't had someone sharing something where I've tried to move things around yet. So
I wonder, and I'll just try it another time. I wonder if I can just go to the corner, go to the side of the Zoom screen and then just move it over rather than minimize it. But enough said on that. I'm sorry.
no, it's worth asking.
Are you on a PC or a MacBook or?
I'm on a Mac, Peanut.
And do you only have one screen?
I mean, I'm on my laptop.
Yeah, I don't know if you have any extra monitors.
No, actually, I do have my iPad here, but I don't have it. I'm up in my office and I don't have any here.
Okay.
Anyhow,
Because I have 3 monitors, so I can move things around.
really,
Wow, 3.
yeah, I figured
On
that
my
my
laptop
iPad,
and 2 more.
I figured my iPad was enough, but that's good advice. Okay, so those were my 2 issues, and I'll send that out tomorrow. And that moves us to, unless there are other new business, that moves us to the reviewing the minutes.
Okay.
I only want to say, and Ron had communicated to me, Charlene, Sam, don't, oh no, you can put it up. You can put up the minutes if you want.
Oh, sure.
I have them on my iPad. Not quite as advanced as Charlene, but I'm moderately advanced.
Well, now I can't
And-
find it. Hang on.
Okay. But I did share my comments, and then Ron shared his, which I think everybody has seen.
Mhm.
Yes.
I don't necessarily recall he
There we go.
articulated it quite as articulately, but we've all taken liberties, and I don't see any problem with that from my standpoint. But the one thing that he did revise for me is that in my version of it, I had just noted that Ron left the meeting and I didn't know the time. And Ron emailed me to tell me that he left at, now something has just come on my screen. He left at 8:10 after Virginia had asked about the possibility of changing the meeting night. So if you could go down to the last page, I think it's on the last page. Actually, just go above that if you would. Right after that, VA asked if it might be possible to change the RHC's meeting date. We could add RW left the meeting at 8:10.
Why do we need that?
I would only say because the minutes reflect that Jack left and the minutes reflect that Ron left, but I don't suppose it's, that's the only reason.
I'm just, I mean, and maybe it's important, but usually we don't say Charlene was late or Charlene left early. That's my thought.
Okay.
Well, a lot of commissions and minutes do say when people are there, because then you know that they're not active or voting or
Right.
offering business.
And in this
fine.
case, I would also agree. And in this case, where we say in the beginning, and I think we have to, well, I guess we don't have to, but we said that we designated Virginia as a regular member. We don't have to say it, but we did because Jack wasn't there. So it makes sense if he came in, which he did, that we should say
Yes.
that. But I mean, it's not a big deal. I mean, look, I prefer, to be truthful, I prefer Amelia's minutes to the way we had been doing them. It's a lot of work, and I applaud Amelia for doing it. I know some people like to make them more summary, but I'll be honest with you. I think that the open meeting law and the bylaw calling for minutes probably intended that they be a little bit more descriptive of what takes place. Maybe it doesn't have to be this descriptive if Amelia wants to back off a little bit. But I like having more detail rather than less, but we don't need extraneous information. And so, I guess we don't need to include that, but I don't have a big heartburn about it.
Yeah, I don't either. I was just curious.
Okay. So that
I
would be
do
the
have
only
one thing.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
Under members present, Ron Weston doesn't have initials.
Good point.
RW.
If that's the biggest thing I find,
Well, since I just suggested that we say RW left the meeting, we should put that in.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, were there any other comments or proposed revisions or detractions, et cetera? Hearing,
On
Yep.
page 4, it's new business, and it's 6/9 (6 lights. Has that been figured out which one it is? Wasn't it 6/9?
I think it was
Yeah.
9/6, but I don't
No.
know.
Oh,
But to be honest, I also don't know that we ever clarified. I know Ron did send an email. I still am not sure what windows are what on that photograph, but the point's well taken, and I don't know the answer to your question, Charlene. What do the minutes say? Where is it?
I thought they were
Under
9/6.
business.
I thought they were 9/6 too, but those were the ones above, I think. And we may be talking about the one on the first floor now.
No, the first floor, because those were the ones we discussed at the meeting previous,
Okay.
and they showed us the photo
Yeah, but they
And when
said it
I
was
went back-
6/6.
and looked at it. They looked like 9/6 to me. in the-
Well, in the photo, like 9/6, so I guess the minutes should say that.
Oh, well, I
Charlene?
think that
Well, yeah,
what I was trying to get there was that they said, the owners said, it used to be 6/6, so we're gonna make it 6/6 again.
Yeah,
Right,
And then the question is, did we agree with them that it was 6/6 in that picture? So I think the 6/6 is correct. Because in the next sentence, they say, Sam says, she didn't see 6/6, she says 9/6,
okay,
right.
right?
And it was 9/6.
okay.
So we good with that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Even though it does appear that we might have gotten snookered on that.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah, I mean, I know we did have a lot of discussion, but to me, I mean, first of all, there were so many different styles of windows on those structures. And it did go back and forth in time that
Yeah.
I'm not sure that it's an issue to me either way, but anyhow. Are there any other comments regarding the minutes? If not,
No.
I would move that we accept the minutes for November, was it 19th? 2020 as amended.
I'll second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, Sam,
yes.
Charlene,
Yes.
Amelia,
yes.
Virginia,
yes.
and I am a yay.
Ugh.
Okay, thank you. And that finally brings us to the next meeting date. So
January 13th?
is that a problem for Charlene?
Nope.
What was that?
Wednesday,
13th of
January 13th.
That avoids all our January birthdays, I think.
Right.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, mine's
Oh.
finally on the weekend.
Oh, yay. Maybe you'll be able to go out this year.
Yeah, all right.
I remember last year I brought brownies for Jack's birthday,
Yeah, that's right.
but
Right.
now we're all gonna have to make our own and eat them collectively.
Mm.
Okay, so January 13th works. We have a date, and at that point, I am happy and pleased to turn the gavel over to the new chair,
See how we do.
the new and improved chair, Samantha Couture. I only said it that way because it rhymed with chair.
My dear lovely roommate from college still doesn't say my last name right, so it's okay. Try.
Well, it is Couture for the record.
Okay.
So, Virginia, yes.
I was wondering, Samantha, are you going to be able to still manage the Zoom meetings and run the meeting?
Oh, good question.
Good question.
I think it'd be nice if there was someone else who'd get, maybe would check in with Julie and show the stuff, because I'll probably need a few months to.
Well, we
keep
did from the get-go, it was Julie's recommendation, and I strongly agree, and I'm glad you raised that the chair has a lot else going on, so we ought to defer. Pino, I know you and I both attended that. Are you comfortable in taking that on?
Mhm.
Or at least trying it? We'll see what happens.
Yep.
What I've been doing is I gather all the stuff I think I've got, and then if I can't find something, I get it from Jonathan.
Yeah, you mean for the screen sharing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and throw it all in PDFs, and then it's pretty
Yeah, are you on? I'm usually on a MacBook. So are you on a MacBook? Any issues with PDFs or anything? Okay.
Yeah, if there's a file that isn't one, I usually just convert it.
Okay.
Because then you can open Acrobat Reader or something and show just that.
Oh, so you convert whatever the documents are to a PDF for this purpose, huh?
Yeah, mostly we're getting PDFs anyway, but
Yeah.
for the archive draft tonight, I just made it a PDF, so I could open it easily.
So just for the record, sorry to belabor this point, but in case I may have to do this in Pino's absence, I know I attended that Zoom meeting with Julie going over it. How does the meeting start, Sam? Do you do anything, or does she set it up?
Julie still has to do all the setup and log in, but then once whoever's taking over is joined, she can transfer the hosting duties.
So where do you see, like who comes on, who's coming into the meeting?
On the bottom, there's
Participants?
in the middle, there's participants. If you hit that, a sidebar opens up.
I have done that, but that's what it is. You just keep it open as the manager.
Yep,
And
and then it'll show you if someone's trying to get in, and you would just click on their name if you want to let them into the meeting.
So that's all you have to do to allow someone that you see there that you don't know. So are we saying that until the manager clicks on those participants, they're not able to participate in the meeting?
Right, they get put in the waiting room. That's how these meetings are set up.
Does it show up as a waiting room, or does it show up as a name in the participant list?
No,
Oh,
up above the participants list. So participants for everyone who's there, and then above that we'll say wait in the waiting room.
Okay.
Yeah, prevents you from getting Zoom bombed by people.
No, I get I appreciate that. I get that. I'm just trying to figure out how, if I had to do it, how I would know where they are and what to do. That's all.
Well, no, it usually pops up too. It will usually pop up if someone.
Yep. Like down, participants might show a little red circle saying someone's trying to get in.
Gotcha. Well, actually, just to make it more amusing, maybe I will defer any questions I have till if I ever first have to do it, and then we'll make the meeting more interesting. So thank you. All right. So unless there's no further business, which I'm pretty sure there is not, we will.
Virginia.
Just one quick thing that the Historical Commission once met on Christmas Eve, 409 Grove Street, but at least we were only a week away from some of us celebrating holidays. So I want to wish everyone happy holidays, or at least have a good, healthy new year.
Here, and I'll second that.
Absolutely.
And I should also say, while I'm tearing over the chair, It has been an immense pleasure. So I have enjoyed doing it. It's been great fun.
It's been a lot of work, Jonathan, and we
Yes.
appreciate how much extra you have done to make things go smoothly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I
Absolutely.
appreciate
And the
that.
extra time you put in.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
It actually was surprisingly a quite a large amount of work, which I actually enjoyed. So I had the time and the ability to do it. So and
Well,
I
I
know
will rely on you for advice and
well, I was
help.
going to say that and we've had this discussion before, that I took it upon myself to do more than I probably should have, notwithstanding the fact that I was happy to do it, because it is a valuable, I think, experience for all of us to participate, to do that stuff. So I would encourage you, Sam, to solicit, for when projects come up that you can ask other people to do. By all means, ask other people, and if other people can do it, we should all try to step up and support that. So if Sam has a year or 2.5, I actually did it for 2.5 years. Like I did, she doesn't get burnt out, because it is a lot. And to the extent that, Sam has the burden of having a real job that I did not, it's a lot. So we all are going to need to step up to support her.
Yeah, I'll be
Okay.
probably sending a lot of emails in the evening rather than.
Well, and do feel free to call or email me or whatever.
Sounds good.
Okay, Merry Christmas, Happy.
Thank you.
Everybody still stay healthy and safe, and I move to adjourn.
Yay.
Second.
Okay, all in
Third.
favor, I guess we do it by roll call because we have to.
Okay.
Sam,
Yes.
Charlene,
Yes.
Amelia,
Yes.
Virginia,
Yes.
and Jonathan, grudgingly giving up the chair, says yes.
Thank
So the meeting is adjourned. Sam's in charge. Everybody
All
take
right.
care.
Happy holidays.
you.
Thank you.
Ready?
Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.